Hey, gang. Now that one tank is emptied and the other is refilled, let's continue. He gets to the pearly gates crying, and Gabriel says, "What's the matter with you?" "The Lord let me down. I put my faith in him and he let me drown." Gabriel says, "Jesus Christ, I sent you 2 boats and a helicopter."
It's one of my favorite stories. I just love that. Yeah.
And so, when the far right says, "I don't need medical help,"
Mm-hmm.
maybe science is God's way
Mm-hmm.
of giving us help.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what the brain does.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anybody who has ever had brain surgery?
Yes.
What is that?
Excuse me?
In a very basic form, what is that?
What is brain surgery?
It is a brain
Ah,
inside of a
I see
brain
what you're saying.
surgeon
Okay.
working on another brain.
Yes.
That's amazing. Your heart can't
Mm-hmm.
do that. For all the energy that we put our whole heart into it, and
Mm-hmm.
prevent somebody else from having a heart attack
Mm-hmm.
or give them a bypass surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Who else could even think of something like that? We'd have to have a brain to be able to think of artificial intelligence. And so, yeah, there's definitely something stronger than me. And when some of these physicists and scientists say, "That's ridiculous. No, it's all science." I'm like, okay. I wish I still had it. There's some physicist and scientist who basically says what you're saying, in that energy, the Big Bang, was God. The whole on the seventh day God rested and whatever else. Well, that those days are still going because the universe is still flying apart from that Big Bang.
So let's move on to from the metaphysical part to the axiology. Why are we here?
Oh, now you're going to make me quote Spies Like Us, Chevy Chase. He's sitting down in a chair and he's being interrogated by the KGB, and this is all the further it goes, so I don't know the rest of it. But Chevy Chase goes, "Why are we here? Why is anybody here?" I believe it was John Paul Sartre who once said, "How do you spell Sartre?" And the guy whacks him, and scares him, and he turns around to the other KGB agent, like that was the guy getting hit. And he goes, "And let that be a lesson to you." uh, yeah, why? I've heard more recently some stories about the afterlife,
Mhm.
and that this being on Earth is a form of was that purgatory? Limbo.
Yes.
In
Hmm.
between heaven and hell, and,
Purgatory.
and you don't know
Yep.
what's next.
Yep.
This is it.
Hmm.
Um, and that there is, and that's also not saying that we should just all whack ourselves and go right to heaven, because that's not part of it.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Um,
No.
but yeah, I think make good use of the time that you're here.
Hmm.
Um, I'm in podcasting because I wanted to help others. As I was in
Hmm.
the process of setting up retirement from the Secret Service, I began day trading and investing in cryptocurrencies. And I had such an amazing first year. It was abnormal.
Hmm.
I haven't replicated that since. And in fact, for my own personal reasons, I stopped just to get my life back in order and back on track. But I had such an amazing first year, I created the YouTube channel, The Doggy Traders, where I teach others how to day trade and invest in crypto. And I did like a kind of like a Kramer Wolf Blitzer type of show, streamed live, where I did like a market report.
Hmm.
That was because I wanted to help people. That's why you get into YouTubing and podcasting, because you've got a message for other people, not because you have the arrogance of saying, "Oh, I need to be streamed and have a microphone in front of my face and look like
Mhm.
Howard Stern or Paul Harvey or any of the other people that I've talked about before." No,
Mhm.
it's because you've got something that is unique, or at least can be done better, differently, or even replicated. There are something like 1.4 million podcasts
Wow.
going right now.
Mhm.
I think you're out there somewhere. Somebody's already tried what you're trying.
Hmm.
The
Yep.
difference is in this email, and it says it, the difference is between some other presenter, I don't know what the other name was, and Howard Stern, is perseverance and determination.
Mm.
And
Mm.
that's what you asked me about up the middle. Given that it's not left and it's not right, it's
Mhm.
that silent majority that's in the middle. You know, what's going to happen with that? And I said, it'll take off, not next week, but at some point during this next election cycle. If it doesn't take
Mm.
off, then, or if it doesn't even just grow,
Mhm.
then I'll know I'm wrong.
Mhm.
And so while I'm here, I'm going to help people. I'm going to help people learn about day trading and crypto investing. I'm going to help people expand their podcasts by creating Yergz Radio. I'm going to help people like you and David get introduced and noticed by, telling other people about you and
Mhm.
the mission that you're on. You don't have to be inspired.
No.
You don't have to be sitting here for the third time this week with me. You, as you said in the previous call we were on, you've got a lot of other things you're doing.
Mhm.
And as you said to me earlier this week, you loved finally sitting down.
Yes. Yes.
So
Putting
we
my
don't have
Christmas
to do.
decorations wore me out.
Yeah,
Putting them away
don't
wore me
have to.
out. I was happy to sit down and talk to you. Yes, just so the
Sure.
audience knows what he's referring to. But yeah, no, very good. Very good. Well, as I said to you, I got some experiences of my own that convinced me
Yeah,
of other times and other places and so forth. And I've had
I've
experiences
never.
that have saved me. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll shut up and let you continue because I think you were about to. But I'll pull it out of you. Is there anything like that, like my nightmare
Yeah, yeah,
stories, or anything like that, that you want to share? Because I'm always very anxious to hear. Am I alone in this world?
yeah, yeah.
And
No,
wanting
I
to
have a
have
couple.
experiences
I
and
have a
just see.
couple, just three. Well, maybe half a dozen, and some of them I've already talked about. I mean, when my father died, I had several dreams that I think were more than dreams. I think he came into
Yeah,
my head and into my heart and was there with me for a little while before he went on his way. But I've talked about those before. And I think that in one of my dreams in approaching the house where we used to go every Sunday and he'd make eggs and cheese for breakfast for my family and for my brother's family. And we just have a good old time while my sister-in-law went to church. Anyway, one of my dreams was coming up to my childhood home and hearing him in the kitchen. This was after he died, and
yeah,
hearing him in the kitchen, and my heart, just as Wordsworth said, my heart leaped up to hear his voice and think, oh my God, he's still alive. And I think in that moment, somewhere in the universe, he was reading my heart, as it were, to be assured of how much I loved him. Okay.
yeah,
There was no doubt because it was spontaneous feeling. And he knew at that moment, if he ever doubted it, that I valued him and that I loved him. And when I went into the house, and this is another dream, when I went into the house, I saw him making eggs and cheese at his electric frying pan that he always used. And he was so young. He looked young and healthy the way I remembered him. And again, that was for me to let me know that, Jane, I'm okay. Wherever it is I am, whatever it is I'm doing, wherever it is my spirit vanished to, I'm fine, not to worry. My mother has an experience in which she, at one point, says that he appeared to her in his army uniform back in the day when she first met him. And she also ended up just feeling, again, like I did, that he had sent his spirit somehow to tell us, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm
Yeah.
better than ever. Okay. So I've got those experiences with my dad. Now, a third dream he came to me forsaged a problem that my son was having in another room of the house that ended up maybe 10 or 15 years later coming true. And it blew my mind when the actual event happened. And I remembered that particular dream. And, I said to myself, Dad warned me that this would happen. So that was kind of that was another experience that I had. But the first one I had was when Paul and I moved to Colorado. And in our very first apartment, I awoke. I swear I was awake. I awoke one night and happened to look around, and there was a man standing at our bedroom door. And I remember, trying to move my hand to wake Paul up and being just frozen with fear that there was somebody, and this particular individual, had a very amorphous form and looked around at the room, looked around at us. And again, I'm immobile, cannot move. And then all of a sudden, and I kept blinking my eyes and pinching myself, like, is this real?
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I mean, he was not there anymore. So that was an experience I've had. The only other one I want to report is that I had gone to England with the music department years ago as a chaperone. And we landed in London after not sleeping all night because I have trouble sleeping on planes, unlike some people.
Oh, you should
Anyway,
join the
so
Secret Service. You
I
should
was
join the
awake
Secret
all
Service.
night
You'll learn in
and
a day.
not totally there. And they took us and said, walk around a little bit, tour a little bit, and so forth. And so I did by myself because, as I've shared with you before, I have enough of people and I have to get away.
Yeah.
So I'm wandering around until I realize, okay, I've got 20 minutes to get back to where I'm supposed to be for the next round. And Ross, I started back and I could not remember my path back. And I thought, holy shit, I have no way of contacting people. I am alone here. Nobody knows where I am. And I can remember
This
trying to
was London?
flag in
This was
England.
London?
Yes.
And okay.
Pardon me? Yeah.
I thought you said
Anyway,
London, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Anyway, I was supposed to get back to the car park, okay, where the bus was. And I
Yeah.
can remember flagging down a postal person who was on a vehicle. And I said to him, look, I am from America. I am lost. I need to get back to the car park in this many minutes. Can I please hitch a ride with you? And he said, no, I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't do that. And I am at this point just desperate. I mean, I had no idea where I was or what I was going to do or who would find me or whatever. And then all of a sudden, this woman appeared and she said, ma'am, you look really stressed. Can I help you? And I said, yes, I'm from America and I'm lost and I'm supposed to get back to the car park and I don't know how to do that. And she said, follow me. And so I did. And she took me right to, she said, finally, do you recognize this? And I said, yes, I know where I am now. And got back to where it gives me chills. It gives me
Yeah.
chills. It gives me chills to recount that story. I've never told it to any other person in the world because I'm so embarrassed that I was so stupid to get lost by myself in London. So you're the first to hear this story. But
Wow.
I tell you what, I turned around to thank her and she was gone.
Yes, I knew that was coming. I knew
She
that was
was
coming.
gone. And
Yeah.
I mean, wow. So those are my experience. And oh, one other thing. I've had several dreams in my lifetime. One of them, I am flying over a delta somewhere. I'm high above the earth and just flying over the delta like a bird, and just loving it, just loving being free and loving flying and loving looking down and just loving it. And that dream has stuck with me my entire life. I think I was a child when I first dreamed that. And then more recently, within the past year, I had another dream. And this one spooks me out as well. It has the same feelings of that initial one. And in this second dream, and again, these are things I've never told anybody before. So
Wow.
I'm telling you and anybody who listens. Okay. So this
Awesome.
other dream is I am running uphill to get somewhere. And behind me are my parents saying, Jane, slow down. You're supposed to meet such and so, this guy. You're supposed to meet such and so. And I look at my watch and I say, I'm sorry, I'm 15 minutes late. I've missed him. He's left without me. I just have to keep going now. And I'm still running and running and running, right? And all of a sudden I stopped and turned around. And out of this building somewhere comes this person I am supposed to meet. I stop. He and I approach one another, give one another this huge hug. And in that hug, I feel peace. Like I've run the race. I'm done. I can rest now. And that's the end of the dream. But
Wow.
it
And of
gives me
course, you don't know who
such,
the person is.
no,
Wow.
no, just a guy who loves me. So that's what I got for you. Those are my experiences that convince me that I'm not alone, that
Yeah.
there's a greater good somewhere, and that I just have to keep on going until I don't have to keep on going anymore. And when I decide when I decide to stop and turn around, there'll be an energy, there'll be a person, because that's
Yeah.
how I relate. There'll be a person there for me, and I will be at peace, and it'll be fine. So
Yeah.
that's my belief system based on some dreams and some experiences, and also all the knowledge or all the I don't know, books, videos, whatever I have seen about other energies and other places in the world where impossible things exist that could not exist without some energy beyond our knowledge being available to whoever was running around at that time. And I would recommend several things. There's a video back in the day, back in the 70s, called In Search of Ancient Astronauts that I recommend. And there are current videos that do the same thing, but that's the one that introduced me to stuff. And also, I love the movie starring Jeff Bridges called Starman. That one also has seeds of what I'm talking about in a fictional piece of video filmmaking. And then also, as I've talked about before, the movie called Defending Your Life. There are seeds of understanding in there that resonate with
Oh, yeah. That's
me
with
like nothing else. Okay,
Albert.
so those are my stories. Those are my belief stories today. Okay?
That's with Albert. Defending your
Yes,
life.
Albert Brooks. Yep,
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
yep, yep, yep.
Uh, so selfless plug quick. Yergz Radio is growing.
Mhm.
Our
Oh, good.
day night show, Para or Normal, just had I gotta think of his name. Okay. Rich Fields. Rich Fields. If that name sounds familiar to any of our listeners, it's because it does. You know Rich Fields for saying, Jane Stahl, come on down. He is the voice of,
Mhm.
he has been one of the voices of The Price is Right. And he
Oh.
has been the only announcer to work both with Bob Barker and
Mhm.
Drew Carey.
Wow.
In fact, in the hundreds of people that auditioned for The Price is Right, he was down to the final two and was handpicked by Bob Barker.
No kidding.
And when Bob retired and left The Price is Right, he was going to be fired as well because there was going to be a whole house cleaning. And Bob Barker walked right back into CBS and said, "No, you're going to keep him. You can't lose both of us. You'll lose your entire audience."
Mhm.
And that's how he got to also work with Drew Carey, who he is head over heels for. They're both from
Awesome.
opposite sides of Cleveland.
Mhm.
They both went to competing high schools. They're
Mhm.
both into so many other different things that they believe, and they're actually only months apart in age, that they believe that somewhere like a sporting event or something, they've crossed paths before. They would have had to.
Mhm.
I'm telling you all this because when he first got The Price is Right and was he was looking to buy a house in Burbank, and he's with his realtor, and I'll make it a lot quicker than what he did, but still, I think give the point. They went to see a property, and she keeps knocking on every door before going in. Like, well, what do you do that for? They're empty. I says, well, just in case. Um,
Mhm.
and they get to this next property, and she knocks on the door, pokes her head in, shouts, "Real estate agent, hello." And she sees a woman sitting on the sofa. She goes, "Oh, ma'am, I'm so sorry. We were told this is empty. This property is listed. Would you mind if I show it?" And the lady just, waves to her, raises a hand, and she says, "Okay, come on in." And Rich says, "Thank you, ma'am. We won't be long. I just need to, have a quick look." And she waves at, and she's sitting there watching television. Oddly enough, it was a game show, and he thinks it might have. He doesn't remember, but he thinks it might have
Wow.
been The Price is Right.
Right.
They look at the place. Um, the realtor says to the woman, uh, "Here's my card. If you have any questions or need anything, I'm the listing agent for this property, and I will be happy to help you." Lady waves to her, paying attention to the TV, and they leave. They have to stop back at the realtor office, and Rich goes in, and they handle whatever other business. And right before they both leave together, his realtor turns around and says to the boss, "Hey, that property at whatever address, you said that's empty. That's not. There's a lady that still lives there." And the boss whips around and says, "What?" And she says, "Yeah, there's a lady that's there. She let us show the property. I showed him the bedroom. There's some guy's clothing in the closet still. This is not moved out of yet." And he gets as white as a ghost and says, "What do you mean there's a lady that lives there?" And there's like, "Yeah, I gave her my card. We," and she goes to say that we talked to her. And she realizes the lady never said a word. And the boss goes on to explain 2 months ago, she died, and that her children took the husband, their dad, to live with them. And they just sent for his clothing.
Whoa.
And
That
and
gives me chills.
it wasn't like that whole you see an apparition and you can see through the person.
Yeah.
There was a person sitting on that sofa.
Mhm.
And when they went back, the television was turned away from that corner of that end of the sofa to be like
Mhm.
it was on like a round table that spins, almost like a
Mhm.
lazy Susan for the living room,
Mhm.
and it was facing essentially the rest of the living room, and her card was still sitting in the exact same spot on the coffee table.
Mhm.
And just sort of to have somebody like Rich on for the other show last night is, but it's a paranormal show, so both the
Right.
guests last night had various. The other one was a retired ATF agent who wrote the book about the largest arson case in history was in Boston,
Mhm.
and I think the title of his book is Boston Burning. And in one of the fires, 6 firefighters died in one building.
Mm-hmm.
And the assistant chief got to the point where he had to stand in the doorway to the building, keeping other firefighters from going in
Mm-hmm.
and essentially, trying to rescue their buddies and essentially making the same mistake. And it got into a fight
Mm-hmm.
that his team wanted to rescue the rest of them, and he knew it was
Mm-hmm.
not the right decision anymore. So during the memorial service to those firefighters, when the last body, and this was days later because it's still hot, it's not safe, it's structurally not safe. This was days later when they were finally able to recover what remains were left, because essentially when you're in something like that, you've pretty much been cremated.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they were able to, and that's why they wear metal tags and
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
other materials and whatever, so that they can be identified.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when they were bringing out the remains of the last firefighter, a fire broke out on the roof of the building with nothing left but brick. There was no material up there that was combustible.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at this, and they're trying to finally get their last colleague out of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as they get him out of the building,
The fire
it
starts.
goes out.
Wow.
Now this ATF agent is like certified in what's called fire science.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole, how does this, we talked about like energy and so on, how does this
Mm-hmm.
happen?
Mm-hmm.
He says there's no way that could have happened, that there's nothing there that burned. And getting back to my fire,
Mm-hmm.
with everything that happened in my dream, and we talked about how you have a nightmare, and some things make you comfortable or accepting because that's what really happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the moment where my brother was burning, and I know that's not what happened. And I have that different feeling about that moment of the dream.
Mm-hmm.
The feeling that I have when Jesus woke me was like the rest of the nightmare. Like I have the feeling this is how I woke up. Rewind back to that day, and I'm standing in what's left of my bedroom with the assistant chief of the Earl Township Fire Department, who looked at everything over, who he himself was a fire science, looked everything over and said, "There is no way that you should be alive."
Really?
And he looked at me square in the face and said, "You should be dead right now." When he
Get
saw where
out.
my bed was, where the door was, where the fire was, open windows, etc., and not a single flame made it to my bedroom. All the damage there was heat and smoke. There
Wow.
was stuff, 20 feet away from where the fire was that melted because it was at that intense of heat. And like I said, when I first stepped out, I was wringing wet sweated instantly. Like I just jumped in a pool. And he said, "There's no way that you should be alive today."
Well, we invite our listeners to this podcast
Yeah,
to share perhaps
I
your
love that.
stories.
Yes.
Yeah, to share your stories because there are, I'm sure, a million of them.
You can
Fascinating.
reach out if many of you have already been reaching out to Jane. Continue to do that. Otherwise, you can reach out at news NEWZ at Yergz YERGZ.com, and we'll definitely be very glad to hear from you.
Very good. Okay, buddy. Well, I think we've done it yet again. Have not got to the topics we intended to get to this week. But that gives
Is
us
that like a
fodder
thing?
for our next episodes that
Is
we
that
will
like a
try to
thing?
get to on Monday. What?
Is that in podcasting? You have what's called a hook. that you
Yes.
leave at the beginning of the podcast, at the beginning of the
Mhm.
episode, and say, "Stay tuned till the end, and we'll tell you the other thing." Poor people are trying to learn why our podcast sucks. That we're doing this self analysis and
Yeah.
all the things that we could be doing to be better, and we're just sitting here rambling, telling ghost stories.
Pardon me. Anyway, for now, I'm Jane Stahl,
And I'm Yergz.
and this is Both
Both sides
Sides
now.
Now.
I got to slow down so I can stay in step with you.
It's fine. See you next
All right,
time,
everybody.
folks.
See you again. Oi, there's another hour and 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. We're impossible.
Yeah.
So
Jesus.
maybe next time. Next time we're going to get to this, and
Yeah.
I will do my
That's gonna
research
be
a
my
little bit
break. Yeah,
better.
I'm gonna do
Yeah.
both those videos and
Okay.
collate
Good.
the let's see, 10
Good.
was it 10 mistakes and 20 suggestions?
10 mistakes, and I have the top five, and I
Yeah,
guess the
and
rest of them follow that, but I
in that
haven't
video, yeah.
looked at it. But meanwhile,
And we
also,
should be able to knock that out in 10 minutes.
what was it?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I enjoyed this morning. That was really interesting,
Yeah,
especially,
that's good.
the ending part, but I felt a little, what do you say, affirmed, in listening to David and is it Kathy?
Yes.
Okay, in listening to David and Kathy, and just amazed at what you guys do in order. The research you put into the technological stuff that you do is just amazing. And I just get on the air and talk for 20 minutes and I'm done. So
Yeah, that's
that's
what I
not a
like
group for
too.
me, because I don't do any of those things. But I did feel affirmed that some of the things that they said were important because I think, like Kathy suggested, I self edit as I go along.
Yeah.
I offer, personal stuff from my life as it applies, but I try not to talk too much about my own experiences. But I think it humanizes the episodes when we do, or when I
Yeah,
do.
I mean,
So,
to be inspired, that you're you're enough of a brat that you
you think.
you can use that to you can use that to bring out those characteristics from the person you're interviewing, and that's what that one's for. To
Mhm.
talk more about ourselves. That's what this one's for.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah,
and
we
occasionally
have things to
people
share that are important.
yeah, yeah,
I
exactly.
think.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, yeah. So yeah. So you'll explain to Tom that you probably won't see me again at 8 o'clock in the morning.
So yeah, if that is your actual there today it's been kind of leading up to the holidays and just now till after, it's been kind of a lower attendance.
Oh,
There's
okay.
usually a good 6, 8, or 10 people every week.
Okay.
One guy is now a school bus driver.
Yeah.
David messaged me privately on Facebook during the course of the meeting. There's another girl that worked with somebody I did a video on called Ad Fontes Media,
Uh-huh.
who does a like a fact checking and
Mm-hmm.
evaluating. Like
Mm-hmm.
Jane Stahl, oh, she's way over here on the left, and
Mm-hmm.
she's got this level of factual. It's
Oh,
it's a
interesting.
chart,
Yeah.
left and right for political,
Mm-hmm.
and up and down
Yeah.
for factual reliability. She was
Yeah.
just laid off, and
Huh.
so he suspects that's why she's not coming anymore because she kind of doesn't have to. But
Mm-hmm.
she was also in the process of starting her own podcast, so I'm kind of
Ah.
thinking now is when she should be coming.
Mm-hmm. That means she may be back. Yeah.
So point being, if you ever wake up on a Thursday and can't fall back asleep,
Yeah.
there are often more and other people, and it's off so much more than just the tech stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like today, even David talked about the prep. There
Mm-hmm.
might be some things that for be
Yeah.
inspired or even for here.
Yeah.
Don't be
There's no
shy.
question it was valuable. No question. No question. No question. Anyway, I got to run. I'm sure
Yes.
you do
Yeah.
too.
Yep. Got some more editing
And
to do.
yeah. Well, we're ahead of the game, so I really feel good about that. I'm just looking at my schedule for next week. It's what, the 15th? So I
Yeah.
should be good at our usual time. Okay?
So yeah, because of the flow of the first four, and really, I think this is kind of mushing into it, in that we continue the "What would Jesus do" from the immediately previous episodes. I was just thinking about on for the YouTube channel for that playlist, they'll get it in order anyway, but for podcasting, they're going to get this one first, and it's going to work
Oh,
backwards. So I was
okay.
thinking about still releasing them all. Um, Even maybe incrementally, but also putting my own message out, say, hey, we did it again. Jane and I
Yeah,
got to talking.
absolutely. Yep.
You need to go back to episode 36 and start
Yep.
there and work your
Start
way
there.
to the one that's right before this one.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
really like
work.
this. I really like this episode. So,
Yeah, same
yeah.
here. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for sharing. That was that's always an honor.
I've never done that
Yeah,
before. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
congratulations too.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
All right, my
I
dear.
think you're still recording. So
Yeah.
make
Oh,
sure we're
yeah. Sorry,
uploaded.
sorry, 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 sorry.